Heyo, what is up everyone? It is the Alpha J of the Alpha J Show, and today Nick and I will be finishing off the Wishology trilogy. Now you might be confused as to why I'm starting off at part 3, and why this review isn't necessarily numbered. Well, it's simple. NickTendo did part 1, and NickTendo and I did part 2 on his channel, so now we're going to be doing part 3 on my channel.
Go watch our videos on the first 2 parts if you haven't already. Links will be in the card shown now.
So we start off with this introduction after the theme song, which is all happy and shows the characters as if everything is well. What happened in the last bit of the second part? Oh yeah, Timmy got swallowed by a black hole. But everything's fine, guys. So when the movie actually wants to start, we get a Star Wars-esque tilting text parody, which goes nowhere.
Just be glad that this is the last bit of the Star Wars parody stuff that we see in these episodes. Personally, I've gotten a little sick of Star Wars after watching all of the "Is that the Last Jedi" trailer? See you in a few minutes, Jay.
Timmy wakes up to what looks like a normal day in Dimsdale. Wanda and Cosmo, mostly Cosmo, starts to celebrate, thinking that they defeated the darkness. Not that he's safe, but that he defeated the darkness. That phrasing is what truly gives off the first red flag of this sequence. Wanda gives off a truly, hey, can you see that I'm fake? sort of tone, while we get pretty much the opposite attitude from Timmy, if you compare this beginning to the second part. Here, Timmy's humble, unless you count the Trixie part. So then we get Timmy's mom cooking Timmy breakfast. Can you believe they based an episode off of something like this?
Hey, that episode could have been a lot worse than it was. This scene gives us more moments that show that things aren't quite right. Apparently, Timmy once wished that his parents would act more normal than the disgusting, girly, and creepy people that they once were. At first, I thought that this was a continuity error, since we've seen what these people were like before Timmy got his fairies in episodes like Abracatastrophe. But I now see that this was an intentional way to catch the audience's attention. I didn't find any of the jokes made in this sequence to be particularly funny, just a bit too odd. But that should probably be expected when odd is in this show's title.
So then we get Timmy having the best day ever. If wasting 5 minutes of my time didn't work in the Family Guy, it surely doesn't work here. It could have started here, and nothing aside from the slight glitches that Wanda has would have been truly noteworthy. We get more and more filler until the Eliminators show up. I guess there's still a problem now that the darkness is apparently gone, at least according to Wanda.
Timmy Turner, you did not defeat the darkness. You're in the darkness!
I like that. Did it need to take 6 minutes? No.
I really love the concept of this opening. The fact that for a time, Timmy's whole world was an illusion is creepy and extremely memorable. It's one of the best ideas here, but I wish that it was executed just a little bit better. I feel like the lead up to Timmy having the best day ever serves sort of a purpose in the episode. It showed that the darkness really wanted Timmy to be happy, and that ties in kind of well with the twist at the end of the episode. But I agree that it did not need to be as long as it was, and that it poured salt into the wound it created by playing back the first 5 minutes of the episode just to show you that it was all redone. On the flip side, I love the music and visuals that accompany the sequence where Timmy escapes from the darkness. But this bugs me. It's still open!
When they leave, Timmy asks, "Where are we?" Pretty reasonable question, after clearly being told exactly what happened. What? Did you need to stretch to 50 minutes in order to reach mid-break ads? Oh wait, no, this is a cartoon. Also, this question comes up. In the last movie, they made such a big deal at the end that they did not have all of the combined power to stop the darkness. Timmy's lazy. Timmy would not have sacrificed himself to the darkness if there was another way around it. So where in God's green Dimsdale did they get the bikes that not only save Timmy, but have hyperspeed? Not like that couldn't have been helpful earlier.
They're fairies, remember?
Not an excuse. If they can do that, then they can wish many things to get out of their situation in the first place. Fairy Oddparents does walk the line between I can wish my way out of every situation and you can get out of this situation without breaking a rule. But here, it seems as though they saw they had a little time left and delayed what turned out to be a pretty lukewarm way to continue past the ending of part 2. You could make a heat of the moment argument, and to that I say, They trained for years to become fairies. Tell me that they wouldn't go through emergency situations. But I get it, the writers didn't want to spend a good amount of time on the story escaping the darkness. Fine, let's move on. So we get something really important 9 minutes into the finale. The darkness and the head honcho eliminator have a battle over if they should eliminate the chosen one or not. Then the darkness destroys said eliminator in a really good mini twist.
So I never destroyed the darkness? I was inside it? Living some kind of fantasy? And now that I'm out, it's probably gonna come back and get me?
Oh my god. Imagine if I started this review over. Imagine if I just explain every 5 minutes what the plot is just to fill out the time of this review.
Yeah, that would suck. Just talking non-stop about things that everyone already knows for no reason at all just to make the video a few minutes longer.
Don't do that.
In all seriousness, I feel that this twist comes a little out of nowhere. Up until now, the main eliminator showed very little unique personality besides putting on a leather jacket in part 1, and all of a sudden, he has his own goals and ideas. Where did this come from? It is an interesting idea for a subplot, but I wish that it had some kind of foreshadowing to it in another episode.
We get pretty much a briefing on the entire situation, and the main eliminator shows up. He takes Jorgen's wand and somewhat becomes unstoppable. Or does he? Well, they don't think about that at that moment, as Timmy wishes himself away, only for the eliminator to find him again. This back and forth doesn't have the satisfaction that I enjoyed in the second part. Don't get me wrong, the small fights aren't too bad. I do, however, appreciate the seamless integration of the 3D elements.
The exposition dumps are a bit painful, but for the most part, I enjoyed this part of the episode. Seeing the main eliminator use magic makes for some fun and interesting sequences, and it leads to some good jokes too, like at the mall. However, one of the worst moments of the episode comes here, where Cosmo tries to stand up for himself against the main eliminator, but ends up accidentally making all of their wands disappear. This moment plays out like a much more unfunny version of a similar scene from Abracatastrophe. But there, the reason Cosmo failed was because Mr. Crocker was too powerful, not because he was just being stupid. It acted as a funny joke and as a way to show just how powerful Mr. Crocker had become using Wanda's power, as opposed to here, where it forces magic out of Cosmo and Wanda's possession just to make the plot a little bit more interesting. The loss of wands is done a little bit better than how it is usually done in seasons 9 and 10, but it's still a forced plot point nevertheless. The second act of the episode ends with the return of Murph, who intends on destroying the main eliminator. I'm glad that these guys return, as it helps to make these episodes feel a bit more connected, which is a feeling that I do not think I felt enough during Wishology. Anyway, after Timmy tells Murph not to fire all of their weapons at the eliminator, Murph fires all of their weapons at the eliminator and he absorbs them. He is now the Destructinator and roboticizes the entire world, turning everything both living and non-living into metal. Having everything on Earth just be blue with bolts is a boring design, but it's still a very cool concept and it raises tension in the episode.
More adults are stupid, kids are cool vibes here. I actually did find it pretty cool that voiced both of the secret agents. If I could, I would want everyone in my life to be voiced by. But more importantly, can we talk about Cosmo's bit a little more? So Cosmo blows up by stomping the eliminator and then getting rid of his wands in a fit of blind fury. Now, this isn't a rewrite, but consider this an alternative. Have Cosmo turn into a muscle-bound Cosmo and fight the Eliminator, but in the process, the Eliminator says something like, "Let's fight fist to fist." And in the process, Cosmo wishes away all other wands, including Wanda's, except the Eliminator's wand. At least the action in this 3-part special, quote-unquote, would be a little bit more justified. I do enjoy that the main 2 agents of Murph had their just desserts at the end. So the main Eliminator wishes for the entire world to be under this metal covering. Thank you for blessing us with a robotic.
The Earth has been turned into metal with an evil face on it! And there's no magic left in the universe to stop him or the darkness!
Don't say it, just move on. So the Chosen One travels to the blue moon of Vegon to initiate Operation Grab this wand and figure out how it works, then drag it back to Earth and use its magic to crush the Destructinator, then blast the darkness with it. Because even their jokes involve exposition. This sack of bones and starvation approaches the crew. It's Turbo Thunder. So the wand starts to move after Turbo puts Timmy on the step switches.
There's another wand!
This review is writing itself. But more importantly, the special is slowly moving through Act 2, and I don't really find it all exciting. They could have explained this on the way there, they could have shown some cool animation, but it is pretty much a talking head scene. So Timmy wants to know, how could they retrieve this wand of ice if the planet is covered in metal? Well, rest assured, Turbo Thunder will explain this by, Exposition!
I'm glad that this show gave Turbo Thunder some sort of character arc. While it may not have been the most organic progression, it does make him more than just a standard selfish jerk, and it does foreshadow the solution used at the end of the episode. After Thunder shows Timmy how to unlock the power of the Blue Moon's Wind Wand, the group is taken to a really nice looking underground garden, where they learn the final step to defeating the darkness. Here we also find out more about Turbo Thunder's backstory. It's a pretty standard Superman situation, where the alien parents sacrifice themselves for their child's survival, and the child then spends their life training to defeat the evil that originally defeated his parents. There isn't a ton from this flashback that really caught my interest besides a few gags, and the fact that Brendan Fraser voices everyone in it, including younger Turbo Thunder.
The flashback describes as much as it needs to, doesn't overstay its welcome, and provides a bit of comedy. So basically, Turbo Thunder was supposed to defeat the darkness, but he fell asleep. Happens to the best of us. So Timmy takes all the credit, which is normal of him. We then get a bit of Star Wars.
Timmy Turner, I am.
Oh, you're not gonna cut off my hand and then tell me you're my father, are you?
And Thunder decides to train Timmy. The montage is okay, I think he gets the job done. It is a bit repetitive for me to consider it good, considering this is supposed to be the part where we get behind this newly made duo. Timmy gives up because Timmy is Timmy. It ends up with Turbo Thunder giving Timmy his powers, which kind of negates what happened before. You could make the argument that Timmy wasn't around Turbo long enough, and Timmy being the chosen one should have meant that he has some sort of ability. But not all abilities are physical.
This episode treats this power transfer plot point as a big moment, even though it doesn't really add all that much to the plot. Turbo Thunder isn't weakened, and Timmy could have just wished to have Turbo's powers since Cosmo and Wanda have their wands again. However, this does set the stage for a pretty cool final battle between Timmy and the Destructinator. Since they both have magic powers, they can chase each other in space and show off some cool animation and epic music.
Well, there's no greater power than a baby's happiness. It's apparently so powerful, the Eliminators burn in his joy. So Fairy World is saved, and Timmy, along with his new crew, head over to Earth. The darkness finds out, and he is on his way over as well. So after Timmy trains, and then that fails, good thing he brought his fairies with him, or the movie would have ended horribly. It does kind of plateau my amount of caring for Timmy getting these powers. What's the difference between these powers and magic, in terms of the last bit with saving the fairies? So the fairies create this epic ring of magic, and save the day. It could have been much more cinematic, and it feels rushed. In fact, this last act feels very rushed. So Timmy does what he does best. Run. The fairies also search for the wand, which brings me back to my original point. Why not just wish for a contraption to find it? So Timmy ends up trying to outrun the main Eliminator, but that plan fails pretty quick. But with Timmy's quick thinking and the subversion of the and then the opposite happens trope that the Fairy Oddparents heavily relies on, Timmy blows up the main Eliminator in what I hope to be the final last time. I will give Timmy huge props because it was a smart idea. So now this polar bear approaches Timmy. He asks Timmy if he's the chosen one because, oh wait, we're still doing that bit. And the ice wand appears in all of its glory. And with a simple blast, the darkness gets blasted with a beam so great, the darkness turns into kindness.
Isn't dark anymore. It's the yellowness.
I don't mind the sequence with the fairies looking for the ice wand, as it leads to a few amusing gags. But what I do mind is the resolution that Timmy uses to quote-unquote defeat the darkness once and for all. Instead of simply uniting all of the wands and blasting the darkness away for a few more centuries, Timmy figures out that the best way to defeat the darkness is to show it some kindness. So he gets some other fairies to put ice wands on all the planets in the solar system so they form the shape of a smiley face.
We then get a very slow descent into the end of the trilogy, with the former Eliminator releasing all of the other characters from Mark Chang to Trixie to Chester to AJ to Mark's parents to even Turbo Thunder's parents. This part again, really slow.
My problem with this ending does not lie in the idea. I think that redeeming the darkness was one of the few ways they could have ended this trilogy. It would have been lame to get some kind of cliffhanger ending after everything that the characters had gone through. But on the other hand, part of this ending came out of nowhere. Timmy made the realization that the darkness was defending itself rather than attacking way too quickly, and the idea of a baby smile being ultra powerful was introduced way too soon in the trilogy for it to be completely believable. I wouldn't have taken issue with the ending as much if it was foreshadowed just a bit more in one of the previous episodes. Like when Pooh freed all of the others from Abracatraz, he could have used a smile instead of using some karate he learned in 10 seconds somehow. Anywho, every other aspect of this ending besides the resolution is done very well. Each of the side characters reunite with each other, and we get a few callbacks and gags, and Jorgen saying that he will soon wipe everyone's memories, which is a decent way to keep continuity and still have a big adventure.
I felt as though they all could have been thrown out, and this could have been much faster. You know how when you're at the end of an essay, for example, and you really don't want to do it anymore, so you fluff it up at the end so it looks like it had effort? This is what that last part feels like. A chore. A few moments with Kiss, a few moments with Trixie, and...
You do realize after this party, I'm erasing everyone's memory and you'll go back to being the not-chosen bucktooth loser boy?
Well, thank you, Jorgen von Status Quo, but that was Wishology.
As far as the final ending goes, I think that it was actually the best of the 3 parts. While it had some questionable decisions and too many long exposition dumps, I also found it to be the most interesting. Every 11 minutes there was a cool new idea, and the abundant action and satisfying ending made it pretty fun to watch. However, this episode struggled to connect to the other 2 segments, and that's one of the biggest problems with Wishology as a whole. Part 3 probably suffered from this problem the least, but I still found it an issue all throughout. I understand that the lack of connections might have been included to make each episode stand out on its own, but when these 3 episodes are supposed to form a coherent trilogy, I expect a few more moments of continuity. It felt like each episode started over from square one, and it caused this miniseries to drag and made me want to revisit only certain parts. I found each episode to be good. Each of them had some really cool or fun moments and made good use of the show's established cast and universe. But there were also so many moments that were simply frustrating or just confusing. And I would say that only half of the jokes made me laugh. All things considered, Wishology is a fine special. It may not have been the next big trilogy that it wanted to be, but it was still a fairly entertaining set of episodes.
Overall, the series, like the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour, isn't necessarily the best thing ever when it comes to looking at it analytically, but I do enjoy it, and it was a blast to rewatch it and relive all of the good moments. I thought Timmy was a great character, and for the most part, the middle was the weakest in terms of all 3, but looking back, I can see why people think this is one of the weaker specials of the Very Oddparents to run. To me, it doesn't diminish the love of the series. I still think it's a good special overall.
And that was our review of Wishology. We had a lot of fun working on this surprise collab series and hope that you enjoyed it too. If you want to see more from both of us, move your finger or mouse over to the like button, and maybe even subscribe if you're feeling a little generous today. I'm NickTendo, and thank you for watching.
Hey, it's the Alpha J of the Alpha J Show. Now you're probably wondering, why did I start off with part 3? Well, I didn't necessarily start off with part 3. As you can see, this was a cross collaboration with me and NickTendo. If you follow me on Twitter at the Alpha J Show, you may have noticed that I retweeted part 2, which included me on NickTendo's channel. This is because me and NickTendo were supposed to do part 1 separately, but because of scheduling, and because I wanted to get out my week of Disney, things got complicated, and I decided to let him have part 1, and we did part 2 together and part 3 together. So if you want to know my thoughts on part 1, NickTendo pretty much shares the same opinion with me on that for the most part. Part 2 is on his side, and as you can see, you just listen to part 3. As for collabs, I'm not really going to be doing too many on my channel for the foreseeable future, but this was just something that I wanted to do. I really wanted to help out my friend C.R. Martin. I wanted to talk about Very Oddparents again because it has been a while, so I decided to bring NickTendo into this. And the whole Pie Guy interview was really spur of the moment, but I really do appreciate him coming around and making that video. I really hope you guys enjoyed that as well. But yeah, I really do hope you guys appreciate and enjoy this part 3. Go watch the other parts on his channel if you haven't, although if you're watching this, you're probably watching it out of order. But yeah, this is the end of all of my bigger projects. So for June and July, you can expect a lot of shorter things here and there as I prepare for my other big videos, which I'll list in the comments below with their expected dates, which most likely will be pushed back, but I'm really working hard to keep this 3 video a week for the summer at least mindset. So yes, thank you so much for listening to the Wishology trilogy. Go give Nick some love. And before I go, I just want to say one more thing. If you really like what I'm doing and you want to request something for me to look over, you must leave it on the request page. Why? Because I want to have a just giant list of series or episodes or concepts to look over. I don't want to go through multiple different videos because I feel like that's unfair. I think it's perfectly fair if all the series and episodes, shows, whatever you'd like to call it, are in one space so I can scroll through them and pick the ones that I would like to do, or pick the ones that are challenging to me and do requests on them. When you leave requests in this video or any other video that's not the request video, I generally link you to that page so that you can just paste a comment over there. But just going forward, I do have a video for requests and I am going to start taking them a lot more later this month and later this year. Why? Well, because like this collab and another collab I did, things were pushed back, and if you guys noticed on my channel, I have been a lot more active now than I was earlier in the year. So I really do want to make it up to you guys this summer by keeping on this 3 videos a week schedule until I have to go back to college, which would then be 2 videos a week, possibly 3. I also saw that based off of the likes, based off of the comments, you guys really did enjoy my event the week of Disney. So I am looking for other things that I can do. I do have one event in mind that I want to do, maybe in early July, I'm not too sure. But I really do appreciate all the love, all the comments I'm getting, because this has been a little stressful. But I love doing it. I love the fact that I've been doing this for about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and I've been getting a massive amount of love, massive growth, and one of the goals I had for my channel has been reached. But let me not waste your time with that. Follow me at the Alpha J Show, or join me in my Discord. Both of those links are in the description below, as well as a link for the request video. Make sure to subscribe to NickTendo, and I will have the first video right there for you to watch, so you can go through part 1, 2, and 3. I highly suggest looking at my first character clash, or looking through my Fairy Oddparents playlist in general. As always, I hope your time is well spent, and Alpha out.